And once again, greetings to you, music lovers, thrill seekers, conversationalists all across the bountiful, fruited plain. It's the Rush Limbaugh program here on the EIB network. Great to have you here. The telephone number is always, if you want to be on the program later today, 800-282-2882, and the email address lrushbo@eibnet.us. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to beg your indulgence for a few moments here before we get to the news of the day, the special counsel, the daily tack that is occurring here as the establishment in Washington attempts to regain what it believes is rightfully theirs. One of my closest and dearest friends and colleagues passed away at 6 minutes after 8 o'clock this morning here in South Florida. Roger Ailes, 77 years old. Roger and I were passengers in history. I met Roger in around 1990, one night at dinner at the 21 Club in New York. And my life was never the same thereafter. There is, as we speak, and there has been for the past year, a barrage of slander and libel aimed at Roger Ailes by pissants who will never accomplish even 5% of what he did. These are people that did not know him, that prejudged him, that were jealous, people who were envious, and people who felt the need to take down a serious enemy who threatened what they consider to be their rightful hold on the media, on America, or what have you. Some of the things being said just today about Roger Ailes are absolutely untrue. Roger Ailes was not suicidal. Roger Ailes was not defeated. Roger Ailes was not destroyed. And Roger Ailes and his courageous and lovely wife, Beth, were not separated. These are things people wish that they had made happen. These are things that people wish they had caused. They wish they had destroyed Roger Ailes. They wish they had created marital strife. They wish they could have caused him to become suicidal. But he was not any of those things. I knew Roger Ailes. I've known Roger Ailes, as I say, from about 1990. And I could sit here and recount stories for you and give a eulogy of sorts, which I'm more than prepared to do. But I think the way I would rather do this, is to go back and replay some comments I made in a speech in honor of Roger back in 2009. It was in Tarrytown, New York. This was the Westchester Putnam Council of the Boy Scouts of America up in New York, and Roger was their annual award winner. And in addition to the roster of speakers, somebody from the Boy Scout Council reached out to me and asked if I would come up and make some remarks, and I was flattered and honored to do so. And I don't think we've ever played I'm not going to play the entire length of the remarks I made, but I'm going to play more than we have played in the past on the program here. Because what I would like for people to know is the Roger Ailes that I know, Roger Ailes that I knew, the brilliant, inspiring, motivating, compassionate, funny, the most naturally funny human being I have ever met. I've never encountered Roger Ailes in despair. Wouldn't allow himself to be. I've never been around him when he was fatalistic or even depressed. Quite the opposite. He had virtually every characteristic of great leadership. And he knew it. And he was aware of it. And he used it as best he could to try to get the best out of everybody that worked for him and worked with him. You'll read all the things about how he got started on the Mike Douglas show, essentially in the mailroom, ended up producing the program. You'll read about the stories of him taking over the campaign successfully of Richard Nixon and George Bush. And I have my own stories of Roger Ailes and American presidential politics, such as it's 1992. The first year of the Rush Limbaugh television show that Roger Ailes executive produced for 4 years. The television show had not yet begun, slated for fall production. That would have been in September. This happened to be in June. So I get a call. Roger says, hey, we're going to Washington, pack a bag, we're staying overnight. And I said, what's going on? He said, we're going to White House. What? Yeah, we're going to White House. President wants to talk to you. What? President Bush wants to talk to you. Pack a bag and meet me so-and-so. So we flew to Washington. We were to have dinner at the White House with President and Mrs. Bush. When we arrived early on purpose, and we went to the Old Ebbitt Grill, which is a restaurant just across the street from the White House. I said, what are we doing here? We're having dinner over there. He said, no, we're not. They don't eat. They eat like birds. If you want dinner tonight, we're going to eat here, and then we're going to go over there to dinner. That's what we did. We had dinner at the Old Ebbitt Grill, chowed down, went over to the White House, and he was right. President and Mrs. Bush ate very sparingly. In fact, they served finger bowls after dinner for wash your hands. And I looked at it. I was kind of perplexed, and I didn't quite know what to do. Mrs. Bush looked at me with wide eyes, afraid that I was going to think it was soup. She was looking at me like, please, don't. I could just see it in her eyes. So I sort of faked picking up a spoon and make it, no, it's a finger bowl. I said, I knew. I'm just lightening things up. After dinner, we piled in a limousine. We went over to the Kennedy Center, where the president attended a performance of something or other. When the president arrived, everything is stopped, and he's introduced. So was I. I'm so embarrassed I can't begin to tell you. Roger is off outside the spotlight. Roger's nowhere to be seen. He's there. He's in the same row, but he's off out of spotlight. The crowd's looking up. Same opinion I had. What am I doing there? We go backstage, meet the cast and the crew of the production, head back to the White House after it's over in the presidential limousine and discuss the presidential campaign of 1992. It was really at the peak moment of Perot. Slept that night in the Lincoln bedroom. Ailes slept across the hall in the Queen's bedroom. I got a total history lesson of the White House, the residence, the Lincoln bedroom, such as was never his bedroom. It was always his office. In the Second World War, there was no West Wing. Lincoln never slept in this room, but they carry forward a tradition. They call it the Lincoln bedroom, but it's only a bedroom for guests now. I didn't go to bed that night. I didn't want to lose consciousness while there. So we left the next morning, hopped a plane, shuttle back up to New York, did the radio show, talked about it. Roger Ailes made that happen. Roger was able to open doors for people and willingly and happily did so. And it was never for his benefit. Not directly. It was always in furtherment of a cause or helping somebody else. But what I want to play for you, and I've got countless stories like that I could share with you, but I think I'd rather play for you a portion of the tribute that I delivered back on the 11th of November of 2009. This is shortly after Obama has just been elected, by the way. And it's, again, the Westchester Putnam Council of the Boy Scouts of America, Roger Ailes, the 2009 Good Scout Award ceremony. Here's a portion of what I said.
One man has established a culture for 1,700 people who believe in it, who follow it, who execute it. Roger Ailes cannot do everything. Roger Ailes is not on the air. Roger Ailes does not ever show up on camera. And yet, everybody who does is a reflection of him. He has the ability to inspire, to motivate, to enthuse. People around Roger Ailes are not negative. If they are, he sends out a memo. The memo says, negative people make healthy people sick. Personal story. We all grow up wanting to be loved. None of us are raised to be hated. And yet, and I was the same way. I mean, many of us will alter our own personalities to be accepted by people. We'll try to figure out what people want us to be and then be that so that we'll be liked. In the process of doing that, we deny who we really are. Now, when I was growing up, nobody hated me, and nobody thought that I hated anybody else. Had personality conflicts with people, disagreements. Nobody thought I hated anybody, and nobody hated me. 6 months after my national radio show started, 20% of the country hated me just because of my values, just because of my conservatism. And I didn't know how to deal with this. And I was looking for advice from anybody who could tell me how to respond to all this baseless criticism of mine. And people said, well, you can't let it stand. You've got to respond to it. You can't let that store. And if I responded to it, the critics thought they'd hit a home run and just mounted even more criticism because I had reacted to it. Other people said, you got to ignore it. All you do by responding to it is elevate it. More people hear about it than otherwise would have. This went on for 3 years. I had to learn, which was a tough psychological thing for me, I had to learn how to take being hated as a measure of success. Nobody's raised for that. And the person that taught me to deal with this and to remain psychologically healthy was Roger Ailes. And had that not happened, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am tonight.
And I don't say that, and I didn't say that lightly. It was a really confusing time. As I say, I had not been hated or didn't hate anybody, but simply because I was on the radio now and effectively espoused conservatism, that automatically made me, all the isms, racism, sexism, bigot, homophobic. And it's a tough thing to have to turn to being hated and convert that into a measure of success because we're not raised that way. Nobody is. Nobody's raised to want to be hated. Quite the opposite. And to take being hated as a measure of success, it's a psychological challenge. And it was Roger Ailes that gave me advice and lessons he had learned himself, but basically how just to overcome all of that with confidence, self-esteem, and recognize the people saying it don't know what they're talking about and don't know you. The people who do know you know who you are. That's all you can do, and that's all that matters. Seek your happiness from the people that love you, and you love them, because you're never going to be loved by people that never know you. And it was much more detailed and involved in that, but it was extremely, essentially helpful. Here's the next little segment from the...
My relationship with Roger has been deeply personal in a friendship level and a professional level that I've never experienced with anybody else that I've worked for or worked with. And even though Roger has had nothing to do with my radio show, he was the exec producer of my TV show for 4 years, the things I've learned from him about being a man, about the country, about how to be a professional, nobody else taught me. Nobody else was capable of teaching me. It was a crapshoot whether I would have learned it on my own, but maybe I would have, but I didn't have to, because I had Roger behind me telling me how to react, how to be. I remember one night on our TV show, I was just, for some reason, I said, I can't do it, Roger. I can't do it. This is not me. I can't do it. Of course you can. What do you mean you can't do it? Nobody says you can. Who you're Rush Limbaugh? You can't do it? Sent me out, and I did it. A lot of people would have said, yeah, you can't do it. Oh, you can't do it? You don't want to do it? Okay, well, maybe we'll cancel tonight's show, and we'll... But Roger does not tolerate or accept failure in people, nor does he accept people feeling secondary. He is a genuine human being who is able to bring out the absolute best in everyone who works for him and works with him. And I have never met anybody in my life who is able to do that.
And especially in a large organization like Fox News, that at this time in 2009, 1,700 people. Stop and think about it, folks. Think about establishing a culture that no matter when you tune in to Fox News as a consumer, as an audience member, with expectations that you're going to get what you expect from a man who's never on camera, who's not writing scripts, who's not on the phone with producers and demanding this or that, hiring the right people, vetting the right people, inspiring them and motivating, and turning them loose. Not many people can do it. Roger Ailes has accomplished things in life that few people will ever even attempt. And it's one of the reasons why there's so many people who are jealous, so many people who are envious, and so many people who want to knock all of this down and characterize it as something other than what it is. And what it is, what it was greatness. There's more. I appreciate your indulging me in this just a little bit more. We'll take a break and come back in just a second. Don't go away. At the time of the Scout dinner in New York, Roger's son, Zach, was 9. He was in the audience that night.
Zach, I want you to come up here for just a second. This is Roger's son, Zach. You've heard him addressed here tonight. Now, you've heard a lot of things about your dad tonight. How old are you?
9.
You're 9 years old. You've heard a lot of things about your dad tonight, and you've heard them described in flowery terms. I want to make it real simple for you. Your father's a great man. Your father is one of the greatest Americans who's ever lived, and I don't want you to ever forget that. I don't want you to understand exactly what that means. And I mean great, Zach. Your father loves you. You can't believe the stories and how proud he's been talking to me about you and the things that he was looking forward to being able to do with you and has been able to do. So I wanted you to know it from me personally. You've heard all the flowery language. Your father is a great man. You'll know that for the rest of your life.
Thank you.
And this is often said as a cliche. In Roger's case, it's true. He is a great man, but his greatness has been enhanced and expanded because of Beth and their relationship. Well, Beth understands who Roger is and lets Roger be Roger. I have never had that experience. But it really is a treasure. I thank the Lord for all the people I've met. I thank the Lord for people here doing the Lord's work in the Boy Scouts and promoting American values. And I'm one of the luckiest people in the world. I wish everybody could know the Roger Ailes I know and be personally impacted by his knowledge, his advice, his attitude, his optimism, his enthusiasm, his sense of humor. Because when Roger Ailes is on your team, you do not lose. Zach, congratulations.
And it's true. Roger was honored one year by the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation and let me speak for 5 minutes that night. And I closed with the same point. When Roger Ailes is on your team, you didn't lose. America needs many more like Roger Ailes, not less. So it looks like 13 people have been injured, being treated for injuries after a car has plowed into pedestrians in Times Square in New York. Governor Cuomo, the son of Mario de Pius, is now headed to the scene. It apparently just happened in the past couple of minutes here. And as it unfolds, we will have details for you. As I say, we're going to get to everything that we would have gotten to today in not too much longer. I just have a couple more things here that I want to share with you on this, the day that Roger Ailes passed away at age 77. When I had finished speaking, I think there was one more speaker, and then Roger got up. And I just want you to hear a little bit of Roger Ailes himself as he was that night. Roger was not on camera. People did not. This is one of the great sadnesses for me is that he was one of the most naturally funny. It reminded my dad in a way when we'd go to dinner and a bunch of us, everybody would want to go if they found out Roger was going to be there. It was just an education. It was an interactive education to sit there and listen to whatever was being discussed. It was going to be entertaining and funny and informative and enlightening. There just aren't enough people like him. And in recent years, there hasn't been a lot of Roger in public. He's always been a behind-the-scenes person. It's amazing. His job has been to make others larger than life on television. His job is to secure victory for other people, and he did it over and over. He was the man that revived Richard Nixon's career. I don't know how many of you remember. It was 1968, and I don't remember why I happened to be watching television. My memory tells me it was a Saturday night, and Richard Nixon was doing a town hall in the round. It was just Nixon and a bunch of voters, big group of people. I remember watching it and concluding, I'd never seen, now I'm 17 years old, but I'm advanced for my years in terms of political awareness. I've never seen Richard Nixon so likable. I'd never seen him so engaging. I'd never seen people so interested in what Nixon had to say. That was all Roger Ailes, who had arranged that night, put it together, structured it, and advised Nixon on the circular format, set, and taking open-ended questions with no script. If Roger trusted you, that in itself, to perform, if he trusted you to send you out, that itself was a vote of confidence that was worth as much as you'd get from anybody else. So here's a little of Roger, responding to the award that he was given on November 11, 2009 by the Westchester Putnam Council of the Boy Scouts of America.
He flew up all the way to do that. He was a Boy Scout, but they had a Girl Scout camp across the lake. So they chained Rush to the cot at night, and he said it took him 20 minutes longer to swim with that thing hanging off of him. What's little known about Rush are the things he does for charity with absolutely no fanfare. The other thing is that he creates 15 hours a week of original material because he has talent, he has a sense of humor, and he's risen to the highest places in radio because he has a brilliant mind. And so people who don't know Rush don't understand that about him. What he does is hard work, and he's able to go out there every day and win, and that's very hard to do. So, Rush, thank you.
Here's a little more from the. I told Cookie to cut the applause there, but she's biased toward me, so she kept it in. But here's
we have Republicans and Democrats here, as you know, and there's a tremendous difference between the two. Geraldo. There is a difference. There's a story about a guy who was in a balloon. He lived in the country, one of those air balloons, a hot air balloon. Stop that for just a second and cue that back up to the top. When Roger started, we have Republicans and Democrats here, as you know, and there's a tremendous difference between the two. I shouted, "Where are the Democrats?" I'm looking around the room, and that's when Roger said, "Geraldo." I don't know if you could hear me. You could? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear me. So if I think I couldn't, okay, here it is from the top once again. We have Republicans and Democrats here, as you know, and there's a tremendous difference between the two. Geraldo. There is a difference. There's a story about a guy who was in a balloon, one of those air balloons, a hot air balloon. He was lost, and he lowered the altitude, spotted a man down below, and descended a bit more. And then called out to him, and he said, "Excuse me, can you help me? I promised a friend I'd meet him an hour ago, and I don't know where I am." The man on the ground consulted his GPS and replied, "You're in a hot air balloon approximately 30 feet above ground elevation at 2,346 feet above sea level. You are 31 degrees, 14 minutes north latitude, 100 degrees, 49 minutes west longitude." And the guy said, "You must be a Republican." And he said, "I am." "How did you know that?" He said, "Well, everything you told me is technically correct, but I have no idea what to make of your information. The fact is I'm still lost, and frankly, you haven't been very much help so far." And the other guy said, "You must be a Democrat." He said, "I am." "How'd you know that?" He said, "Well, you don't know where you're going or where you've been. You've risen to where you are in hot air. You made a promise which you have no idea how to keep. You expect me to solve your problem. The fact is you're in the same place you were before we met, and now it's my fault."
And this is it. This is the final one. This is about a minute and a half here. Roger Ailes and America.
"We live in a country where we believe individuals are innocent until proven guilty. I believe we owe that same courtesy to our country. This country is only 230 years old. It's small, it's young, it needs protection. Who better to protect it than the people who enjoy the freedoms it provides, and that's us. Of course, things can be criticized. Things could be better. Things could be improved. But in the end, the United States of America has fed more and freed more people on earth than all of the other countries put together." When they tear down your country, be sure to point out that we have a heroic history with traditional values and institutions like Scouting, which have been a steady beacon of light in the universe. American exceptionalism does exist because we believe in freedom. Remember one thing about America: everybody's trying to get in and nobody's trying to get out. Don't back off on traditional values. It's important to show respect and tolerance for others, but they must show the same respect for your values. Tolerance is a two-way street. Don't be afraid of challenges. Much of your success will come from taking on difficult situations.
Roger Ailes passed away today at 6 minutes after 8, 77 years of age. He was born in Ohio, and first time I heard this story, I was shocked and surprised because I didn't grow up knowing anybody like this. But he told me that 6 months before he was to turn 18, his father came to him and said, "So where are you going to go?" And Roger said, "What do you mean?" "Well, you're going to be 18 in 6 months. You can't stay here. When you're 18, I've done my job. So where are you going to go?" So he was basically told by his own father at 18, "You're on your own, pal. You're not going to stay under my roof." He had a hard scrabble upbringing, and he was a tough as nails individual and tough as nails competitor. And I could tell you stories about battles we had with media during the 4 years of the Rush Limbaugh, the television show, and maybe I will someday as things unfold. But for now, I just wanted to do what little I could to help a proper remembrance of a great American who has done more for his country and his family than he is likely to be acknowledged and given credit for, precisely because of the overwhelming and profound success he represented and constituted an ongoing threat, which is, I can't tell you how frustrating it is to even acknowledge such a thing exists in our country. I understand in totalitarian regimes where certain points of view or opinions make you enemy of the state, subject to imprisonment or constant ridicule, lose your job or whatever. But it's still, even though I know it happens, and even though I know it's out there, and even though I see it and have experienced it, it still boggles my mind that that kind of bigotry and prejudice that is rooted in tyranny exists in our own country. That simply an opposing point of view and succeeding at spreading it and implementing it, when it is rooted in individual liberty and freedom, can make you an enemy of the state. Scary times. And we've lost a great warrior in the battle, in the war. We'll be back. Don't go away.